Vice President, I will be chairing the meeting as Board President Benini is traveling and unable to attend tonight. I warmly welcome our Youth Commission Liaison, Bethany Zhao, who is joining us remotely this evening. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill AB 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreter, Teresa Mendeville, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind speakers wearing masks to remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion by Trustee Gerard, second by Trustee Lempert. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreter, Ms. Mendeville, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We have one comment submitted just prior to the meeting tonight, and it's a special message from our interpreter, Teresa Mendeville. Tonight is her last night interpreting for the county board. We'll have other interpreters in the future. And she just submitted a few words. Esteemed President Chelsea Benini, Superintendent McGee, members of the board, and to all the San Mateo County Board of Education personnel. I would like to bid my farewell and show my appreciation for the opportunity to interpret at your board meeting as I embark on new endeavors. I learned a lot during the meetings, and this allowed me to be a better interpreter at parent-teacher conferences, IEP, and 504 meetings at schools throughout the Bay Area. I will be forever grateful for this opportunity. Best regards, Teresa Mendeville. And I'll go ahead and just say back at you, Teresa. I know you're online tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Speakers are invited to make live comment and have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Superintendent McGee, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time?
I am not seeing any hands raised.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
We have no cards tonight.
Thank you. Public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's questions, comments, and discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. Item 3A is the June 2024 Employee of the Month, Jeremy Del Carpio, Educational Data Analyst, Educational Services Division. Will Jeremy please join me in the middle of the room? So each month, the board and superintendent recognize an employee for providing outstanding service. For the month of June, we recognize Jeremy Del Carpio. Did I say that correctly? Thank you. Educational data analyst on the Research and Systems Planning Department Center for the analytics team in the Educational Services Division. Jeremy joined the County Offices Center for the analytics team in July of 2022, and from the start has made substantial contributions and consistently delivered high-quality work. Jeremy demonstrates exceptional problem-solving skills, always going above and beyond and the extra mile to overcome challenges. He keeps the collective interest in mind when approaching projects and handles communications professionally and respectfully. He is widely regarded as a dependable teammate upon whom everyone can rely on. Jeremy has quickly become a valuable partner to the district and early learning staff as well. When the Big Lift team was challenged to gather accurate attendance data for the Big Lift preschools, Jeremy worked with the staff to find ways to make the process easier, more consistent, and more accurate. As someone in a school, I know that that's very challenging, so thank you. Jeremy's tenacity and professionalism saved the day while supporting staff in implementing the 2023-2024 Library Media Survey. He happily took on every task and persisted through multiple challenges, always with a smile on his face, which we see right now. Jeremy's efforts to go the extra mile significantly contribute to the research and the systems planning department's success in providing targeted and timely support to the educational community. His contributions are invaluable. Beyond his professional achievements, Jeremy has excellent interpersonal skills and has fostered positive relationships with his coworkers. He actively engages with colleagues, seeking input and feedback to continuously refine and improve his work. We are proud of our County Office of Education staff and are pleased to recognize Jeremy Del Carpio for his outstanding work. Congratulations to Jeremy for being named Employee of the Month for June 2024. Jeremy, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, Board Vice President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. I think I did that correctly. So I'm terrible at public speaking, so I'm really, really hoping I'm getting through this without crying. So we'll see how this goes. I just really want to thank you for this incredible honor of being, I guess, named Employee of the Month for June of 2024. This means the world to me. I started almost 2 years ago, like in like a week and a half, it'll be 2 years. And I remember my very first day walking past the Employee of the Month's like wall and remembering thinking that's never gonna be me. I felt incredibly lucky to get this job. This is my first big boy job. If you've never met me, I've definitely said this at least like 6 or 7 times. But yeah, I thought I was incredibly lucky to get this job, that by some sort of like stroke of luck, I got through. They didn't realize that I did not deserve to be here. And that was more or less what I thought. So what was I thinking, like me being deserving of any sort of higher accolade like Employee of the Month? But over the past 2 years, I've come to grow into my confidence, my self-assurance, and my comfortability in this role. And for that, I have a lot to thank to so many people, starting with my team. My team is full of really smart people, incredibly kind people that I can come to with questions and not feel like a burden or a bother or anything like that. They support me in ways that I never thought I would have. And just the friends that I've made at SMCOE, people that I can just come and chat to when I have nothing else going on, or I just really, really need a break and someone to talk to and just connect with. There are people there and they'll always help me out if I have questions too. And it really helped out with knowing the different things that I'm going to be working on, especially working in, data team. You feel a little isolated from time to time. So getting to know these people really helped. And Jared, still in my first days, I still remember asking him, like, why did you hire me? Because it felt like a crazy decision, a crazy risk to hire me. And so for him to take that risk meant the world to me. But most of all, Younghui, my manager, she has spent the past 2 years being incredibly patient and guiding me and mentoring me and really just helping me through and helping me feel safe here to talk to her and to have questions, because truly that was the hardest thing in school, was just admitting that I don't know what I'm doing. So having someone like that to help me out really mattered. So I really do want to say thank you to my team, to Jared, my friends at SMCWE, and especially Younghui for getting me where I am today. Yeah.
We also have this for you. I don't know what's in there, but it looks fun. Thank you so much. Now I know why that's your favorite part. For item 4A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 12th, 2024 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion to approve the minutes of the June 12th, 2024 regular board meeting made by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the minutes of the June 12th, 2024 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 5 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve the consent agenda made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the consent agenda has been approved. For item 6A, Joy Dardanelle, Executive Director, District Improvement and Support, and Dana Uni, Executive Director, District Business Services, will present the San Mateo County Office of Education Annual Summary Report for Local Control and Accountability Plan, our LCAP implementation. Executive Dardanelle and Uni, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent McGee. I'm Joy Dardanelle, and I am really pleasured today to be here with Executive Director Danya Uni, who is now joining the team in the support for districts with budgets, but also with the Local Control Accountability Plan. We've included the annual summary report in the board packet, so I'm not going to go over it line by line, but I will draw your attention to a couple of big themes. So our first goal is really in supporting the work of districts in creating their local control accountability plans. As you know, these plans are very important. You're going to be hearing our local control accountability plan in that they're really an opportunity for districts to tell us how they're working to support students, particularly unduplicated students, English learners, foster youth, low-income students, and our opportunity to work closely with them is we hold that very tight. So we provide them feedback early on in the process, as well as giving them support through the approval process. And then also we work with cross-departmental support. We work closely with the SELPA department as well as district business services as we support districts. And in that collaboration, we then also hope to invite the counterparts that we have in their business service offices, as well as their curriculum and instruction and special education departments to work closely together on their plans. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director of District Business Services, Danya Uni, to share her perspective.
Thank you, Joy. Good evening, Board Vice President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. As Executive Director Dardanelle mentioned, I'm new to this role, but in just the last 2 months, I've been working with closely with Executive Director Darnell's team, as well as my team, DBS managers, Alan Coe and Rosalie Bowman. Just being in the LCAP meetings and discussions with the team, I have really come to realize the vital role the COE provides to the districts in developing their LCAPs, all the way to taking their LCAPs to the board. And then by June 30, all their LCAPs need to be approved by the district boards. And then we switch on to our second role, which is reviewing and approving the LCAPs for the statute. And we approve the LCAP based on 4 specific ones, and one of which is to make sure that there is expenditures in the budget to implement the LCAP. And the second important money piece is that any any apportionment that is coming for because of the unduplicated student count is allocated to provide or improve the services of those students. So those are the 2 pieces. And then 2 funding pieces. And then as Executive Director Dardanelle said, we bring together, we go in as a support team of cross-departmental team with SALPA, Business Services, and Ed Services. And we encourage our partners, district partners, to do the same so that the educational goals are set, so that it improves student outcomes, and it is set with good financial planning and budget allocation. So with that, and I look forward, this is brand new to me, so I really look forward to digging. This is only 2 months into the role, but I look forward to a full cycle with the upcoming new year. With that, I'll turn it back to Executive Director Dardanelle.
So with goal 2, we really help to provide continuous improvement supports. And that also includes when we see LCAPs that have been adopted that we can't approve. And we do a little bit more continuous work with them throughout the summer. That's the phase that we're entering now as we go past June 30th. And in telling you about that, I was thinking, you see this plan here, but I think you want to know a little bit of other information. Like, what are we seeing in the LCAPs, right? I'm guessing that might be a question you have, so I'm going to answer it now. A couple of things that we're seeing is that because it is the first year of 3, it's harder to be compliant. The last years they were revising. Now they actually have to start from scratch and actually build something that is going to meet all the new compliance requirements. And in doing that, they also have the opportunity to shift and change and realign goals in a way that they weren't able to when they were in the revision processes of past years. So we're definitely seeing a lot more alignment with their strategic plans, kind of consolidating goals, similar to how we also have our strategic plan with consolidated goals. We also are seeing more attention in their actions toward required actions that the state is requiring now. So long-term English learners, we're seeing a lot more actions specifically for them, as well as actions for differentiated assistance and ones that show the red indicator on the dashboard, whether it's at a site level, a student level, or at a district level. And then, hopefully by September, everyone's going to be approved. So hopefully it'll be a quick cycle and everyone will be approved. And we're working side by side with them to make sure that they're able to get through that finish line. Goal 3, or the next goal that we're really looking at in terms of how we support, is in providing our support and differentiated assistance. Everyone gets LCAP support. Certain districts get that additional targeted support for differentiated assistance. And even within those differentiated assistance districts, they get different levels of support. For those who have been in differentiated assistance for longer time, we provide more targeted support through that time. And other districts may choose, for example, more of a consultancy model where they just request to be able to meet with us on one student group and help with their continuous improvement cycles. With that said, when we talk about continuous improvement, we also want to make sure that continuous improvement is available to all districts, not just the ones that are in differentiated assistance. So we do embed continuous improvement cycles in other professional development that we have, especially the local control accountability plan this year. It is designed as a continuous improvement cycle. And so we want to make sure that they can see the cycle of continuous improvement not just in the compliance, but actually the philosophy behind it, which is to look at the data, to plan, to review, and to revise. And with that said, I'm going to check. Would you like it to add anything? Okay. So thank you for this opportunity to share our work with you. And are there any questions?
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Uni. Ms. Dardanelle, we are so lucky to have you. Having worked with you for many years before you came here, you know this process inside out, and so invaluable to the districts who are kind of trying to figure it out for the first time or the third time or every time there's a change. So thank you very, very much. I have one question. On goal 4, the supports for special education, you said it's not applicable until the next year.
Yes.
Has it never been applicable? Is this something brand new?
So special education is not, students who have IEPs have not been considered part of the unduplicated student groups
Huh.
in the LCAP ever. So the unduplicated student groups that the funding is attached to are English learners, low income, foster youth, homeless, or unhoused students. For that reason, we've worked closely with SELPA on this process, even if they weren't a technical group to be included, to ensure that we were using the opportunity to work together, because SELPA also has compliance items that they need to have. So while we hear compliance, we don't want to just think of it as compliance. We want to look at it as, how do we use this opportunity to actually build relationships and work together across departments and with the county office as well as the districts. With that said, even though it hasn't been a compliance requirement, we've definitely been working side by side with SELPA during these years in order to maximize the time we have with our district leaders. But it won't be a requirement until the following year.
So that's interesting. Thank you. Because many of the unduplicated student groups have students with IEPs. Maybe most have students within them who have IEPs. So this is going to be a different way of looking at some of those same students, actually, right?
Definitely. And through time, there have been increased requirements to look at students with disabilities in the LCAP, including the family engagement or the educational partnership engagement section, and the requirement to consult with SELPA, the requirement to actually have conversations with parents of students with disabilities. And this year, the requirement that red indicators on the dashboard are also addressed. And that includes many actions that are targeted for students with disabilities.
All right. That sounds like a good direction for us to be going in, and that's good that it's now going to be in code. Thank you.
Trustee Lemper?
Welcome, and just want to thank you guys. I mean, the work you're doing, as you know, is so crucial. We've talked about this a lot, but I mean, you're where it's at, right? I mean, in the last decade, under the Trump-Biden administration, under the Brown-Newsom administration, the federal and state government really don't do what they used to do. So you guys are the ones at the front line, both working with districts and holding them accountable. So thank you. I mean, it's such critical work. And I guess just my question is, there's been a lot of concern, even some lawsuits, not in this county, I don't think, but a lot of concern that LCFF was really clear in saying you're getting extra money for these students. And in retrospect, a lot of us who worked on that law said maybe we should have just had it follow the student rather than go to the district. But the law is really clear on that. You use that extra money for students. There's been a lot of concern that's actually not happening. It's just used for district-wide expenses. So just generally, I mean, do you share that concern? Is that something that you're really pushing districts on? Or is it hard to do that? Because, I just get frustrated, well, why aren't youth in foster care and English learners getting even more support since that money was specifically designated for them?
So thank you for your question. I think one of the benefits of working again in compliance work, we say compliance, but we're trying to do something greater than compliance. Compliance just gives us the tool, the path, the opportunity to have conversations. The LCAP is a compliance document, but it gives us an opportunity to have a conversation. And it authorizes us to engage in a conversation about what are you doing and how is this use of funds actually different than and in its service for this group of students that it's intended for versus all students. And so, as you know, even in our document, there is the increased and improved service section. And our expert reviewer is in the room, Carrie Blanton. Let me tell you, Carrie Blanton, the way she reviews that increased and improved service section is 100% fueled by her drive to address what you're saying. How can we really ask districts to address what this money is supposed to be used for? And she doesn't, she's excellent at that. She's excellent at walking people through the thought process, but also the documentation of it so that it's really available for everyone to understand and see. The other piece, so that's one side. And then on our budgeting side, we also have what's called the MPP, and I'm probably not going to explain it very well, but it's the percentage at which districts are supposed to meet their supplemental supports for students. And so we have both a program check in the LCAP that's embedded, as well as a fiscal check in the LCAP that's embedded. And so if both of those things are not 100%, they don't get approved. So again, it's a compliance document, but it gives us an opportunity to have a conversation about exactly what you're talking about.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
No hands.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. Thank you. For item 6B, Sarah Notch, Executive Director, Center for Access and Engagement, will report on SMCOE's LCAP indicators. Executive Director Notch, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Board Vice President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. I'm happy to be back with you for a fourth session reviewing elements of our Local Control Accountability Plan, or LCAP. Tonight, the first item that I'm bringing you that's included in the board packet is a more comprehensive report on our indicators. Those indicator areas are set by the State Board of Education. Then CDE puts out a template that helps us work through self-reflection processes that are based around implementation and improvement science. And so what you've hopefully had a chance to review in greater detail is the process that we went through to reflect where we are in our implementation of each of these indicators. I feel very fortunate. I know it's no accident to follow Executive Directors Dardanelle and Uni, because they did such a beautiful job of explaining both the requirements and opportunities that are presented in this process. So rather than trying to poorly replicate the eloquent ways that they phrased that, the only other thing that I want to add for this item is that following tonight, this report gets uploaded for public viewing on our dashboard, so it will be publicly available. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about our self-reflection.
Any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
No questions?
Okay, and there is no action to take on this item. For item 6C, Sarah Notch, Executive Director, Center for Access and Engagement, will provide a brief overview of the final 2024 to 2025 proposed LCAP prior to the board's decision and action. Executive Director Notch, welcome back.
Thank you. For this item, what was included in the board packet is a combination of three things that are all required to be presented together. The first article is the budget overview for parents. The second is our annual update, which gives a deeper dive into some of those indicator areas that we've been talking about over the past several meetings, the board study session and the June 12th meeting. And then it also contains our final draft of the LCAP, which is submitted to you for consideration for approval following the inclusion of feedback after following the board discussion and questions, as well as a tremendously comprehensive and helpful review by, I'm going to give a second, appreciation and accolade to Coordinator Carrie Blanton. I think line by line doesn't do it justice. It's letter by letter with all of the best intentions, student-centered focus. And so I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate the support from our Systems for District Improvement team, as well as our business team. So with that, I will open the floor for any questions that you have about this final draft.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Oh, yes.
Not from the board, but I just wanted to bring the board's attention to the budget overview for parents. We made an extra effort to be very clear about the way the funding and the expenses work. And in there is an explanation that of the total dollar amount of the SMCOE budget, which has very little relevance to the school programs because we do so many other things. So that's explained in there. But more importantly, there is a discussion about the fact that SMCOE is annually required by law to return excess property tax dollars to the state. The amount of local property tax revenue targeted for education that will be returned to the state in 2024-25 is $34 million, $292,807. So that's explicitly spelled out in the budget overview so that parents know that literally 35 million of the total revenue of the county offices returned to the state as excess property tax. And that had been a request of the board in the past to really spell that out. So we took extra effort to do that.
Thank you, Superintendent McGee. Any questions or comments? Are there any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed LCAP?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed LCAP made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed LCAP has been approved.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Thank you. For item 7A, Superintendent McGee will provide information on the triennial plan for services to expelled students in the San Mateo County. Superintendent McGee.
Thank you, Vice President Torres. So you have in your board packet the triennial plan for provision of educational services to expelled students. This plan must be revised and updated every 3 years. So it was last presented to the board in June of 2021. Essentially, the County Office of Education in the plan provides an overview of the education codes that spell out the ways in which students can be served in the event that they may be expelled. And then there's a description of the instructional programs, the programs we provide for social emotional learning and experience and leadership. And then some more description. I'm going to go through that in a minute. And then it's followed by an Appendix A, which includes the same description of services that each school district in San Mateo County provides to its students. And the intention of the plan is to describe all the different ways in which there are supports, interventions, restorative efforts to provide students so that they can avoid being expelled, essentially. So the point of the plan is not to expel students, and this articulates the ways in which schools provide those preventions, interventions, and supports. For the county office version of the plan, we did include the recently approved vision statement of the Gateway Design Team because it really does articulate the direction that we're going in trying to serve students who have not been successful in their districts, to see their movement into our programs as a new beginning that opens up additional doors as opposed to the end of the line. There's some updated data points around the numbers of students we serve in our programs and the demographics around that. The one data point I did want to bring to your attention is that in the 2021 plan, approximately 30% of the students that we serve also have IEPs or receiving special education services. And 3 years later, that percentage has grown to 41%, which I think is eye-opening and alarming. 30% is about 20% higher than a district would see. And now we're 11% higher than the 30% at 41%. So the fact that our LCAP focuses on providing a real good focus and supports for students with disabilities meets that demographic. The other thing about the new 2024 plan, much like the plans we've been writing over the past 3 or 4 years, is that this plan is aligned with our strategic plan. You'll see language that comes straight from the strategic plan that was completed last fall, in addition to goals from our 2024 LCAP plan. So that has never been the case for the triennial plan, that it is referencing the other instructional plans that exist in our programs. As far as there is a section on assessments, and there's been discussion about how do we assess our student success, and that turns into a conversation about how do we collect data and how do we really know that our students are making progress. The program is making a notable turn in the assessment work to rely more on curriculum embedded assessments. So these will be assessments that are more in real time with learning, as opposed to separated months later, in a disassociated kind of test. So curriculum embedded assessments really give us information about, on any given day, is a student learning material and gaining skills. And though that's in line with the idea of formative assessments, because teachers can then use that information on any given day to adjust or plan for what they're going to teach tomorrow or the week following. For professional development, the program is relying on an anchor in improvement science. You've heard that discussed around our LCAP and the LCAP process. Teachers will be going through cycles of inquiry, which means that they begin with a learning question. The entire staff focuses on that learning question. They design lessons around that learning question. They gather data on that learning question, and then they gather periodically in community to ask more questions and better understand the impacts of instruction and whether they're going in the right direction or not. The cycle is, you may have heard also, is referenced as a PDSA cycle, which means plan, do, study, and then act. It's a research-based approach to high-quality instructional materials. There is a section in the plan that summarizes the programs and services that were described in the 2021 plan so that you have some historical comparison. And then the last part of the plan talks about what the program will be focusing on for the years ahead. And that includes targeted English language development curriculum and instructional resources that address the diverse needs and proficiency levels of students. When students are receiving instruction that's meaningful, relevant, and that they can tell that they're learning and growing and gaining benefit, their focus and ability to stay on track improves dramatically. So student engagement improves. Then there will be a focus on developing a stronger orientation and intake processes when students come into the court and community school system. It's often the aftermath of that experience, whatever got them there, is usually a trauma experience because they're shocked that they've been removed from their home campus, their friends. They have to come to this new place. So providing them with more orientation and level setting, guiding expectations, helping them understand how the system works, helping them even understand something as simple as this is a real school and your credits do count for college and graduation and everything else. It can be really instrumental and helpful in helping that student be successful right off the bat. The other piece that's in the looking forward is more about the social emotional learning systems with the positive behavior and instructional positive behavior intervention and support system, which means let's focus on what's going well and what's going right instead of always hammering away on what's going wrong and how you're messing up. We know that when in our own lives, when we focus on what's positive, we kind of have a little bit more of a lift and a positive outlook. And that is the same for students. And finally, we want to focus on the language says utilize rigorous, industry relevant, project-based learning instructional strategies to increase access to the curriculum and engagement in the material. That results in better student attendance and obviously better student outcomes. When students can connect what they're doing on a given day to something meaningful in their future, they will engage and they will participate and they will be successful. I believe that takes us through most of the report, except for the very last piece is county-wide, what does the county office provide to districts all across the county to help provide supports for students? And we cite the work of the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities. That is a multi-agency effort to provide tools, resources, and training to all of our districts in ways that support safe school environments, ensure that students have the resources when they're in crisis, like a suicide prevention toolkit. We have, as you may know, a Narcan toolkit as part of the coalition resources. All of these things provide additional safety nets for students when they're in crisis so that they don't make bad decisions in a rough moment that ultimately impact them for the rest of their lives. So that's the kind of a summary of the plan. And I'm happy to answer questions, but would ask for the board's approval of the 2024 triennial plan.
Are there any comments, Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. Thank you for this. This is a very long report, but well worth going through. I just had a couple questions. One is that I noticed that in the individual districts reporting on their plans, I don't see the the sort of breakdown of
Like
who the
goal one,
students
goal
are.
two? Oh,
yeah, who
okay.
the students are.
Mhm.
As we show socioeconomically disadvantaged students, we show students with IEPs, I don't see that. So is that not something that the districts are capturing, or is it just something that they're not including in their, or do you know the answer?
I don't think, there's no requirement for them to include that.
But do they know it?
Do they know their demographics? Yes, of course, they do. It's in other reports, like their CONAP, their LCAP,
Okay,
their strategic plans. As you can tell, these aren't really plans, what the districts are turning in. It's more of a cover letter
yeah,
that sort of describes the big picture. So I think what they're trying to do is capture the programs and services they have available to students.
okay. But yeah, I was just concerned about that because obviously our students are coming from those districts ultimately. So it would be interesting to see how that's going. And I just had a question on these pages aren't numbered, but according to the PDF, this must be page 6, where you've got the student enrollment. And I show an enrollment of 165 students. And I wonder how that's counted. If we know there's only less than 20 students at Gateway. And we know that there aren't that many students at Hillcrest at any given blink. Canyon Oaks isn't that big. And then the girls' camp's closed. So where are those 165 students?
So over the course of a year, any student who enters Hillcrest is counted.
And can that student be counted a second time if he comes back?
Yes.
Aha. That was my main question, because I just look at it and think, well, where are all those students? But if a student is coming into Hillcrest, leaving after a month, going to Gateway, leaving after a month to go back to Hillcrest for a little visit, that's 3 students, right?
Correct.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Every time a student enrolls.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Are there any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve the 2024 triannual countywide plan for the provision of educational services to expelled students?
So moved.
Is it second? Thank you. There is a motion to approve the 2024 triannual countywide plan for the provision of educational services to expelled students made by trustee Cannon and a second by trustee Lempert. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the 2024 triannual countywide plan for the provision of educational services to expelled students has been approved. For item 8A, Kevin Baltima, Deputy Superintendent, Business Services Division, is present to answer any questions regarding San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed budget. Deputy Superintendent Baltima, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Vice President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. I'm here to present the 24-25 budget for the board's approval. You received a presentation of the 24-25 budget at the June 12th board meeting from Manette Manio and Marion Reyes. I'd like to thank them for their hard work in developing the budget and for presenting that to you as the board at the last meeting. This budget is based on collaboration between our educational programs and our financial support staff. We believe this budget accurately reflects the plans and the goals of our educational programs and allocates resources for the implementation of our LCAP and strategic plan. I would like to note there is one change from the standardized accounting code structure report you received at the last meeting. Specifically, we cleared a technical check in the software where we were reporting a negative fund balance in the extended learning opportunities grant. When we cleared that, it increased the fund balance on the restricted side of the budget by approximately $101,000. There is no change in fund balance on either the unrestricted side or restricted programs. And there is no change in revenues or expenditures as presented on June 12th. And there is no change in the multi-year projection that was presented to you at the last meeting. So with that, we would ask for approval of the 2024-25 budget for San Mateo County Office of Education.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Cannon?
So Kevin, I know that you have a great team that you're working with here, and I just enjoy the heck out of seeing them when they come before us and how you're building capacity with all those people. And the whole thing of this budget, that we're in such solid condition. Every couple of months around here, I hear something like this of one of these, what I consider to be tremendous successes. And I think, wow, that's just great work. And, you know, I go home and I say to my wife, who's been in education all her life as well, look what they've done this time. It's amazing. So just to sum it up, thank you. And it's great.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Are there any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed budget?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed budget made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the San Mateo County Office of Education's 2024 to 2025 proposed budget has been approved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Item 9A is superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
Just two quick comments. I'm going to start with birthdays. We have our executive director of the Personnel Commission, Randy Perez, who will celebrate his birthday on July 7th. And our associate superintendent of, guess it's now Personnel Services. Her birthday, Tammy Moore, is on July 8th. So happy birthday to Randy and Tammy. And then the other announcement is that through the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities and in partnership with San Mateo County Public Health, we led a year-long strategic planning process around youth mental health, youth behavioral health. That report will be released publicly at the Coalition annual breakfast at the end of September. Over the summer, we'll be working on communication tools and ways in which we can deliver the report. It's intended to be an anchor document for all agencies and organizations in San Mateo County serving youth that address the gaps in services around youth behavioral health. And so that has been completed. It involved over 100 stakeholders, partners in developing the plan. It's grounded and anchored in equity goals. And yesterday, the Board of Supervisors took to their meeting the final package for Measure K dollars around children, family, and youth was the category. There was a lot of sort of upheaval about that because they had a very limited amount of money. I mean, to us, it may sound like a lot, $30 million, but they got over $130 million of proposals. So a lot of people were going to get big no's in the response. They had already addressed all of their prior categories in previous meetings, and they left the children, youth, and families to the very end, which was yesterday. And I was surprised to see that our United for Youth effort was allotted $500,000 through Measure K to help uplift and support programs for youth behavioral health going forward. So that was a real boon to the project, a surprise to me personally and to Louise Rogers at County Health. And it will be of real benefit to the children and youth in this county. So I appreciate the Board of Supervisors prioritizing their needs.
Thank you. For item 10A, the board will move to closed session to hear interdistrict attendance appeal 24-5 filed on behalf of a student currently residing in the Cabrillo Unified School District, but requesting to attend school in the Woodside School District. Before we begin, are there any comments from the public? Upon conclusion of the IAA, the board will return to open session to report on any actions taken in closed session. Thank you. For item 11A, the board will report on action taken in closed session. For IAA 24-5, the board voted to deny by a vote of 4-1. For item 12A, the board will discuss and act on CSBA's County Board Member Service Fee invoice for the 2024 to 2025 membership. Superintendent McGee.
Thank you, Vice President Torres. Per the board's discussion at the last meeting, we have brought forward the 2024 invoice for membership. You can see in your board packet the invoice itself, and it includes the discussed 25% reduction for county board services. And I'm happy to answer any questions as I am able to about the invoice itself.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Do you know whether did we tell the CSBA no that they're getting the reduced amount?
So I think the CSBA agreed to reduce the amount for all county offices.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'm projecting out, but I think two of the reasons are that we are not the only county questioning that. There are probably the majority of the counties in the state are having a real issue with the second charge of that county offices are getting. And second of all, they also know that there's been filings to form the Association for County School Boards. So that is kind of what prompted the 25% decrease. But I will tell you, and I don't know if this is the time, Nancy, Superintendent McGee, to bring this up, but I was on a transitional group call today, and it is still very, very much a topic of discussion, and it's been put off till next meeting, which is next month. And there are still numerous county offices that are really objecting to that second fee. They feel very strongly that if districts only have to pay one fee and they get everything, then county offices should have to only pay one fee. And they want transparency, which is one thing that we always received at CCBE. You knew why you were paying your extra fee there because everything was transparent. The number of students, the size of our county office and district, and the numbers of students we serve, that was all very transparent. With CSBA, it is not, and we've asked for transparency, and as of now, we haven't gotten it. So I still think we should not. If we're going to pay dues, I don't think we should pay the second part of it.
Trustee Alvaro.
I just had a question. It seems like the CSBA membership has gone up considerably also this year. Was it like $9,000 last year and it's 10,300 this year?
I think it's gone up a bit, but I think that's not,
Inflation.
yeah, I think that's not unusual.
So I did have a question, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway because I get confused. On Gamut, we pay $3,600 a year for Gamut. And then we pay the same amount plus again for Gamut Policy Plus, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so it's, the reality is we're paying a little over $7,000 for Gamut,
Yes.
the way it now stands. Okay, because those are two separate invoices. Since we're discussing it, I still feel strongly also that it is patently unfair that we are being treated as a local school district, but we're being asked to pay 30% more than the local school districts. I did hear what Mr. Camacho said last meeting, which was it's a transition time and perhaps we should just go ahead and do it. And I think the final decisions are being made at the end of this year. Is that true?
The final decisions are not going to be made, you're right, until December. Well, they'll actually be voted on in November, but they'll be presented at the December Delegate Assembly, end of November, beginning of December Delegate Assembly meeting. And many of the county offices feel that they don't want to do anything, pay it until they know exactly what's going to be approved by the Board of Directors. Because right now, we don't know.
Right.
We're giving a whole lot of suggestions to them and things we want, but we honestly and truly will not know until they vote in November what we're going to get and what we're not going to get. And there's a huge, I can't even begin to tell you what a strong feeling there is about this extra money that we're being charged.
Yeah.
Because they keep saying, oh, well, you're one of us now. You're one of us now. Oh, but we're charging you extra money.
Yeah.
And
It
the
feels
things they're
punitive.
charging us for, districts are already getting.
Yeah. So I guess I wonder what our, I'll use the word legal standing would be. If we said, okay, we're going to pay ALA membership and CSB membership and Gamut and all these other things, right? But we're not going to pay the extra county board members fee because we're going to act just like a local board. Where does that leave us? I mean, do they say, okay, in that case, you're not going to get, I don't know. Where does
They're
it
not
leave us?
even telling us what we're getting. They're not. I mean, I'm sitting in those meetings and I get so frustrated because, oh yeah, we'll write that down. We'll write that down. And then when we ask questions, there aren't any answers. So,
At this point, to the best of your understanding, if we were to say we're not going to pay the $3,000, which isn't a whole lot of money, but it's a whole lot of principle involved. If we say we're not going to pay the $3,000, we're just going to go ahead and be a local board. Everything's good. It won't make any difference to.
I think it sends a message. And I think that's what's important because what was brought up very loud and clear, and I was going to report, if you don't want me to report this now, you let me know and I can do it in my own board member comments.
Council Cho?
I think it's fine to discuss it here since it all involves the same topic. That's fine.
It is, it's
Yeah,
all
that's fine.
involved in the money. What is happening is CSBA is saying, oh, you're all part of us. And county board members are saying, well, but we're paying this extra fee. So number one, what do we get for it? And we haven't gotten any answers at all. And number two is what we're also saying is we need the ability, if you're charging us extra money, then we feel like we should have the ability to make some decisions for ourselves through, if nothing else, the new Region 14. And what CSBA is skirting all around is saying, no, we're not going to let you do that. Our CSBA president is going to appoint all your committees, and our CSBA president is going to approve your regional director, and our CSBA president is going to do this, that, and the other thing. And so if we're paying extra money because we're county board members, but we're not being able, at least as far as it looks, and like I said, we won't know for sure until December, that we're getting to make any of our decisions as far as county board members. And a perfect example is our conference. people aren't signing up for the conference because they don't even know it's the county conference
Right.
because of the title, CSBA. And when we brought up today, well, can't we say this is the former CCBE conference? We were told, basically, no.
So what if? Because I mean, if we say we're not going to pay the 3,000, I don't think CSBA has any grounds to say, well, then you're no longer members of CSBA because we're paying CSBA's fee. What if we said, not that we're not paying the 3,000, but that we are deferring the 3,000 until the end of the year when the decisions are made about what services they will entail and how county boards fit in?
I don't see anything wrong with that. I think there are other county boards that are doing that. And there are county boards that aren't paying any of it until then.
Yeah, I would be
So,
hesitant
you know,
not to pay any.
we've got two things going. But, I mean, I'd go along with that, but boy, it's sure gonna bother me if we pay it all. Because I'm sitting in those meetings, hearing the things I'm hearing. And
Sure.
like I said, I came out of that meeting today ready to eat nails.
I think it's important for us to be members in good standing of CSBA. I do. I think it's important for us to, obviously, to stay with Gamut. It's important for us to stay with, I guess, with ELA, because that's a pool. And I just think that if we said we choose to defer payment of the whatever they call it, CBMS or some silly thing, surcharge until such time as we're comfortable that county boards will have the additional, the 30% extra dollars, the county boards will have the additional services, which will be at the end of the year when you know what you're doing. We're not drawing a line in the sand saying we won't ever pay it. We're saying we're not going to pay it until we know what's going on.
And there are other.
I mean, you're in the middle of it, so that's why I'm looking to you. Would that make you comfortable?
Yes, it would, yes. I
Miss-
know that we will pay the CSBA. If I had my way, we wouldn't pay any of it, but I am logical, at least to that point. And although there are other county offices that are not going to, but at least they're saying they're not right now. But I would settle for that because I think we need to send a message. And I still have a real issue that there is no transparency whatsoever.
I think we all do. And Mr. Torres, you're in the middle of all this too, because you've been going to most of the meetings and is that something that would make you comfortable?
Well, I have a question for Lisa before I answer that, because I know that they have conferences coming up and we have board members who have signed up for the County Board Member Services Conference. And since they signed up, are we then obligated to pay this fee?
I think you can sign up if you're not even a CSBA member
For the county board
Yes.
conference,
for the September conference.
the fee for that is completely different.
So what
'Cause
it
when
looks like
we-
this
when
invoice
we-
says is that at least for the CSBA conferences, if you don't pay the CSBA membership fee, they have the right to cancel registration for the upcoming September conference. It doesn't have that language for the county board conference. So actually, that's a question. I
Does
think
it
to-
say September?
Yeah, right on this invoice for CSBA membership, County Board Member Services, ELA. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, CSBA dues not processed before September 15th will result in disruption of services, including registration for an upcoming annual education conference. So that fee is tied to attendance at that conference. Now, at the next paragraph, where it talks about the new county board member services, there's no language in there about not being able to register for upcoming board conferences. So that's actually a question mark as to whether or not they would bar registration for board conferences if the separate CBMS fee is not paid.
But if we're paying our dues,
Right,
our
you're still a
CSBA
member.
dues,
Yeah, and the
then
way
that
that
would make
this,
us eligible
Right.
for that conference. And we
conferences.
said we we're going to do that.
Mhm. The way that I'll just say from the way that this invoice is
Mhm.
set out, it appears as though the county board member services is sort of an add-on additional suite of services that you could buy into. And I'm not seeing language here that says you can't go to conferences offered by CSBA if you don't pay that fee. And to your point, they do charge separate registration fees and lodging fees and things like that if you were to go to conferences. But that's a question mark as far as whether or not they would bar your ability to attend a county board conference.
Yeah, other than that, then I would be also satisfied with deferring that payment of the CBMS. I think.
And I think to trustee Alvaro's point, as far as stating we're not, not going to pay this fee, it's just deferral, and then maybe have that sort of cover letter accompanying the rest of the payment for these invoices, I think sends a pretty clear message. I mean, the invoicing is through June 30th of 2025. So, and I would say that the biggest concern for the County Office of Education would be continuing that CSBA membership and then not losing access to Gamut.
Right.
The fact that these Gamut services are invoiced separately, that also kind of shows that they're parsing it out. And so if you were to just pay the Gamut invoice, then there should not be a disruption of those services. I would argue very strongly that these cannot be disrupted if the invoice has been paid. So yeah, that would be, I think at this point, as far as what we see on this invoice, if you were to defer just the payment of the CBMS, there's pretty good grounds for doing that. Just saying, hey, we're just not going to pay this one a la carte item on this invoice.
Because on the
Mhm.
Gamut invoice, it said that only CSBA members can enjoy access to Gamut.
Right, which would require
Which
payment
we
of the
would pay.
CSBA member. Yeah, yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, let me see if I can get it right. I move that we pay the Gamut invoices in full, the Gamut invoice in full. And that we pay the CSBA membership and ELA membership in full. And that we defer payment on the county board member services until however you want to say it, the December meeting, or until such time as that, as CSBA adopts policies for
And
county
that would
boards.
be it's November, the delegate assembly starts in November and ends in December. It's right on that.
So until the
so-
end of,
Yeah,
and
it would be
Huh,
that, the
delegate.
November delegate assembly meeting.
is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there is a motion to pay the Gamut invoice in full, to pay the CSBA and ELA memberships in full, and defer the CBMS fee until the end of the delegate assembly meeting in December. By trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion?
Can I just ask a question? We can't just say and defer the payment and not say until December in case other stuff comes up, because it's the same thing, right? I guess what I'm asking is, a friendly amendment, could you just say and defer the payment of the county one, and don't say until December, just defer it, just in case things change in the fall or something?
Okay,
I mean, if you're okay with that,
yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm trying to get the wording as clear, but if you think that just saying defer payment of the CBMS, I can't even remember it the CBMS fee, and just say that, period, defer payment of it.
Well, I mean, you guys are 1,000 times more aware of all this than I am, obviously. I'm just thinking it's just cleaner, and it says we're deferring it, sends a message, but it doesn't set it like exact time. So it just might be a cleaner motion.
Well, I think if we give them the deadline of the delegate assembly, it gives them the message that they need to figure it out during that time. But I'm comfortable with either wording or decision.
Well, yeah, and the one thing that if we don't say a time, if we just say we're deferring it, I sort of had two feelings about it. One is that we're just saying deferring till when? But if we just say we're deferring it and don't give them a time, then if the December delegate assembly happens and things go right out the window, we haven't said, well, we'll pay it when the December thing happens. Does that make sense to you, Bev?
Members of the board, can I also suggest another possibility is to defer payment until such time as CSBA clearly articulates what the structure and the services are going to be offered to county boards.
And
So
that's
that's not a
exactly what I
timing.
want.
Yeah, I'll take that
Yeah,
one.
that's
Okay.
what I want.
Can you repeat that, please?
So
Yeah.
to defer payment of the CBMS fees until such time as CSBA clearly articulates the structure and the services to be provided to county boards of education.
Thank you. I'm glad I said that.
Yes, that's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's better. Who defines clearly?
Clearly articulates, is that what you're asking? Who defines clearly?
The board of directors.
No, what I'm saying is from our point of.
The
view-
word clearly, yeah. I think we could get, I mean, I think we could leave that pending because if they got back in December and they have a mishmash of stuff that doesn't make any sense, we could say, no, not clearly articulated. So we're still not going to pay it.
Do we redo the motion?
I think
Or
for the
as
record,
amended.
yeah, I think for the record, we should have trustee Alvaro restate the motion with the new.
Restated, if I can remember what it was I said. Okay. I move that we go forward with paying the entire gamut invoice, including Gamut Plus, and that we pay the CSBA membership and ELA membership invoices, and that we defer payment on the CBMS membership until such time as CSBA has clearly articulated the services for county boards.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion to pay the Gamut invoice in full, the CSBA and ELA membership in full, and to defer the CBMS fee until such time that CSBA clarifies and articulates the structure and services they will be providing. Made by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the board has voted to pay the Gamut invoice in full, CSBA and ELA memberships in full, and to defer the CBMS fee until a CSBA clarifies and articulates the structure and services they will be providing. Yes, thank you. For item 12B, the board has 7 ad hoc subcommittees and board members serve as liaisons to various programs. When an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time, or they can report out. So would any board member like to report out? Trustee Alvaro?
Just a quick report out. I told everyone last meeting that we would be going up to Jones Gulch to tour the YMCA camp tomorrow. And because of a number of circumstances, we are not going to be able to go tomorrow, but we will be going probably next month. And we will let you know what happened.
Thank you. Trustee Gerard?
Yes, I want to report out that the Gateway Subcommittee, actually, Mr. Torres and myself attended the last Gateway Design Committee meeting on Monday. And so it was informative and interesting. And where I believe Superintendent McGee, do we get a report on that next meeting? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, seems like there are no other reports. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public? There is no action to take on this item. For item 12C, the board will discuss topics for future board agendas. Would any board members like to discuss agenda ideas? I would like to suggest one, just because I know it's a topic that is very popular amongst like policy and how it's affecting education. But anything with AI regarding our schools and what they're doing or what support they need or what challenges are arising, so that we're aware and see what we need to do as board members. There is no action to take on this item. For item 12D, board members will comment. Trustee Lampert?
Just a great job managing your first meeting. Seems like you've
Thank you.
presided over hundreds of them. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Yes. Or parent meetings. Trustee Cannon? Right? Trustee Cannon? Thank you. Trustee Gerard?
Yes, you did an excellent job. Excellent. You just were like a natural, so that's great. And now you have practice for next year, see? I just have a couple of things. Like I said, we did attend the Gateway Design Committee meeting, and I was really happy that we were able to be participants in that meeting. And as I said earlier, I did attend the transition group meeting today. And I will be attending the conference committee meeting tomorrow and the handbook committee meeting next week. And I'm very concerned about the conference because as of today, there were only 49 people that have signed up for the conference. And last year at this time, we had almost 70 people that were signed up. And there seems to be a real issue with the title of the conference. And there were several county offices and boards that did not submit proposals because they didn't understand exactly what they were submitting it to. They didn't know if it was the county conference or a CSBA conference. And they also used the CSBA conference form for the county boards to fill out for their proposals. And I, for one, personally found it very confusing to do so. Superintendent McGee, did you think it was confusing at all for you or for our office?
Yeah, well, it stopped me from thinking about what we could do because most of it was about board governance, which isn't, obviously we could do something on that, but it would take probably a subcommittee of planning to decide how we would stand in front of colleagues and say something new. But then we did go back and ask to submit after the deadline, and they allowed us to do that. Thanks to the team, mostly Patricia Love, for pulling folks together. So we will be doing a session on the science of reading and the coming screening for reading difficulties, which I think will be a good topic. I think people will be interested in learning about that. But we are going to be pulling a variety of people down there all the way to Monterey for several days over the weekend. So I hope it's we get more attendees.
I hope so too. I'm really, really concerned. And a lot of people were very confused by that as well. So I think we have a lot to talk about at our meeting tomorrow. And I will say that at our next transition group meeting, what we just talked about, the finances and all of that is the number one topic for that meeting. But it was brought up today. And there were several other things, but I will wait until I have more information. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. Yeah, just to piggyback for a second on what you said, it was confusing. The title was weird, and I told you that when I first got the invitation. But also there was just absolutely no sense of what was going to be presented. It wasn't like the theme this year is something that you're going to be really interested in. There was nothing.
Yes.
It was like, sign up now, pay your money, and then later we'll tell you what we're going to do.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was absolutely awful.
Nothing the way we've run it in the past.
No, no. So just a couple things. I wanted to thank Teresa Mendeville for her service in doing great work translating for us. And I'm sure that her successor will also do great work, but I just wanted to just say thank you to Teresa. You did a great job, but compared to parent group, we're probably pretty easy, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I have been really excited. I know Bethany had to log off, but to see her I saw her in 3 different papers, local papers, talking about it's the situation with the Boys and Girls Conference that she wanted to be part of, that we backed her up on that. She's so well-spoken, she's so articulate, and I mean, she didn't come across like, some kid who had a good idea. She came across as a young lady who knew what needed to be done, why it needed to be done, and how to do it. And I was so incredibly proud of her. And I just wanted to let her know that. I'm sure she'll see that in the minutes. And then just the last little comment is that one of the people who's been working for us in the IT department is Brian Wilson. And I know he's retiring. I think, next week is his last week, I think the end of the month. The reason I wanted to thank him is that he's been who I send when I get spam, when I get phishing on my county account, sending it to him and saying, is this legit? Is this phishing? And he takes care of it. If I have spam that I've reported like 300 times and I'm still getting it, he will put a block on it. And he has always responded within, providing he's working, but he has always responded within half an hour. It's not like it takes him 2 days to respond. He's like right back saying, yes, this is real. No, this is bad. I've blocked it. Leave it alone. So I just wanted to thank him. I think he's been with the office for something like 20 years, I think. And so I just wanted to thank him and wish him the best in his retirement.
Thank you. Sorry, I have a couple things just because I have the summer off, so I'm actually able to be more involved. 2 weeks ago, El Concilio of San Mateo County had the unveiling of their mural that was done by the EPA Center Arts. So students were there to showcase what was done, and it was a beautiful event. So shout out to Ana Angela Vendaño, who's the executive director. Last week, I had the privilege of attending the 41st NALEO conference, and it was great because I got to meet so many great people and attend so many great workshops about AI, and that's why I brought it up, just because my curiosity is there, and I want to make sure that we are doing our best to stay on top of everything. And then during the conference, the API lead group celebrated their first conference, and they replicated what NALEO was doing. So I think that's just a huge testament to all the work that's being done there. This Monday, Assemblymember Diane Pappen did a reproductive rights rally in Redwood City, and we had a lot of elected officials show up. And the Board of Supervisors also donated $1 million to Planned Parenthood to support those efforts. And then lastly, a huge shout out to Superintendent McGee for inviting us to the last Gateway Design meeting. It was very amazing to see how it all came together at the end, and excited for the direction that everything is headed. And with that, those are all my comments. For item 13, it's the adjournment. So the next regular meeting will take place on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And this meeting is now adjourned.
Yes.